What's up, y'all? Alex Miller from the Eagle, joined by Travis Brown. We're inside Kyle Field. This is the Monday press conference recap. Heard from Jimbo Fisher, Josh DeBerry, Sam Matthews, the new 12th man, and Shamar Stewart. He took us home, and we had a good time hearing from Shamar. What great personality, I have to say.
Yeah, Shamar cracked us up a couple times, said he thought he didn't know if he wanted to come to Texas because he thought, College Station was just going to be like I think the quote was a dirt city and there would be a lot of tumbleweeds. He's been pleasantly surprised, he said. And he said his family wanted him to get out of Miami, kind of get away, pave his own path a little bit. He said the nightlife can get you in trouble in Miami. So he's here at Texas A&M and doing a good job. He'll get to go home. Said he has about 20 or so family members that might be there at the game this weekend. So good to get to talk to him for the first time.
Yeah, try not to get sprayed by the sprinklers. They're getting Kyle Field ready already for the next couple weeks. But yeah, hey, homecoming game for Shamar Stewart, a couple other Aggies from the Florida area. The Aggies going to go play Miami down at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens this weekend. A&M's marquee non-conference matchup. A&M and Miami both kind of handled business this weekend, and Jimbo Fisher had a lot of praise to give for, the way Miami was able to run the ball against Miami of Ohio. That's got to be confusing. I feel bad for the sports writers who had to deal with that. But, when you talk to a guy like Shamar and what A&M was able to do on Saturday against New Mexico, it's probably going to be a point of emphasis that we, look into as the week goes on.
Jimbo Fisher had a lot to say about Miami because, of course, it's a team that he's played a lot, having been at Florida State, and said it's always a program that recruits well, is going to have big players. Kind of says it doesn't really matter the name on the player's jersey because they know it's going to be another really talented guy. Shamar Stewart even kind of mentioned that he doesn't think it's going to be anything like the team that they faced last year. He said those guys are going to be coming out for revenge, and they've been training hard for this game, so he's expected to look like a different team as well. But yeah, Jimbo Fisher had a lot of praise from Mario Cristobal for the Miami program and for what they're going to see this year. Also playing in the Orange Bowl. It's a place that they had a lot of success a couple of years ago when they played North Carolina, the Aggies did, and Shamar Stewart said that was one of the first indications he got of what kind of program Texas A&M had. So there are a lot of good memories for a lot of people around the A&M program when it comes to the city of Miami.
Travis, a couple other guys we got to talk to today was Sam Matthews and, just kind of getting to hear about how he got named the 12th man and just some of the reaction. What kind of stood out to you about what he had to say?
Yeah, it's a really interesting story because, he played ball for a little bit, took a couple years off, went to Blinn, was coming to A&M games and sitting in the student section, tailgating with his buddies. They kind of talked and said, hey, you need to try out. You need to keep playing. He walked on tryout at A&M, tried out as a quarterback because he was a high school quarterback, and they approached him afterwards and said, hey, are you open to playing other things, special teams? He said, if I'm suiting up, I'm good to go. And so they put him, he was a walk-on. They put him out on special teams. And he thought because he was a student in the COVID year in 2020 that he'd have that extra year of eligibility. But actually that 2020 year, he was at Blinn not playing, just taking classes. And therefore the NCAA initially said, no, you weren't on a roster then, so you don't get that extra year eligibility. And so he put in a waiver and had to wait through all of fall camp, not knowing if he was actually going to get to play this season or not. And it was at the end of fall camp after they put in that waiver to get an extra year that they found out that he was approved to get an extra year and was able to play. And it was shortly after that he was named the 12th man. Said, that was one of the major reasons why he wanted to come back was he put himself in a position maybe to get that honor. And, he kind of broke down in some tears talking about getting to tell his mom that he was named 12th man, and said she was almost more antsy and anxious, bugging him about if he'd heard anything than he was trying to figure out. So it was a really cool story for him, kind of really epitomized. How many, I'm going to go on a limb here and say, I don't think any other 12th man that's been named, given the jerseys, literally came out of the student section and came down to the field and had been coming to games as a college student sitting in the student section. So that very E. King Gill-like.
Yeah, probably not in going back until, probably the original 12th man kickoff team when Jackie Sherrill just opened it up to everybody. So, yeah, that just epitomizes the tradition itself. Cool story from Sam. I'm sure we'll have more on that here later this week in print. Another guy we got to talk to today was Josh DeBerry, graduate transfer cornerback, who really made an instant impact on Saturday. It's who I wrote about on my sidebar. How there was a position up for grabs at cornerback, Tyreek Chappelle coming back. A&M lost a lot of guys from last year, and in the end, it was DeBerry that got that starting role. And I mean, he really shined. Had a career high in tackles, had an interception, and was pretty much all over the place on defense.
Yeah, I think most people coming into the season kind of just assumed that Tony Grimes might be the guy that would step up in there because he was the guy that came from North Carolina, saw some playing time. We talked to Mac Brown at the Texas High School Coaches Association coaching school and asked about Tony Grimes, and he said he's a guy that kind of surprised them. They left because he was a good player and a guy they wanted to keep, and so shows a lot of what DeBerry was able to do in fall camp. Not only the fact that he also went at Boston College, played mostly nickel, and so he proved himself being able to play out wide at cornerback and defending the out wide guys, as well as his ability to play nickel. Also played in a little bit to his ability to tackle. He led the Aggies in tackles in that New Mexico game. Sometimes cornerbacks aren't necessarily known for their tackling, and he let that shine. Goes back a little bit to playing that nickel where you're expected to kind of defend the run, be able to tackle, and be in coverage. So good get for the Aggies there, and it seems like a guy who was real driven to make the most of his last season.
Well, Travis, A&M took care of business against New Mexico, but I think this will be a good litmus test this week against Miami. We'll get more into the matchup as the week goes on, but anything else of note from today's press conference?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is when you come out of those initial week one games against group of 5 opponents, guarantee games, is the fact that they came out mostly unscathed. No real injuries to note of. And so that's the biggest factor coming into this season is that they have a new offense. They have some new guys on defense like DeBerry. You want to find that continuity and keep things clicking, and injuries are the biggest way to stop that down. I think they came out mostly healthy from that game, and I think that's mostly, other than putting up points, showing that both offense and defense can do what they need to do. Coming out healthy is the biggest key to those first week games.
Fair enough. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in to today's Monday press conference recap. Be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage leading up to A&M's road game this week against the Miami Hurricanes. Travis Brown, I'm Alex Miller. We'll see you next time.